Crystal. Hi, Kaylee.
Hi.
Right. Let me try sharing my screen. Are you guys able to see my screen?
No.
No? How about now?
Oh, wow.
Oops.
Yes, I can see it. It's like kaleidoscope.
You can see all of it. It's like Inception.
Hi, Lynn. Hi, Patricia. Welcome. Where are you guys calling in from?
I live in Georgia.
Nice. Yeah, we see your file.
Oops, sorry.
It's okay. Yeah, I can see it.
Okay.
I think we have about 50 joining, so maybe give it a. It's still early, so.
That's an important clarification for sure. Oh, wow.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
didn't expect that.
Wow, amazing. How'd you hear about the Toronto chapter?
I and Rovil are connected on LinkedIn, so I just saw that and amazed to be a part of it.
Amazing.
Nice.
Thanks for
Welcome.
joining.
I just put my name as G. My real name is Ashutosh Gupta, and I connected to Rovil this year only after finding he shares some amazing insights about Workfront.
Awesome. I'm so
Great.
glad.
Cheers.
All right, I see people trickling in. Maybe we should get started.
All right. think we're good to get started. So let's kick this off. So welcome everyone. This is our third session uh, for the Toronto user community for Workfront. Um, Prior to this, we've had one introductory session in the beginning. It was kind of an inaugural session. And the second one was somewhat related to Fusion, how to get started, different kinds of scenarios. And today, what we're going to talk about is Workfront and OpenAI and how you can utilize Fusion to um, uh, develop a simple scenario. Kaylee Richard is with us as our guest speaker. So welcome, Kaylee. Uh, she's been really advocating about this Workfront and OpenAI Fusion module and how they have used this to enrich their content in Workfront. And she'll take us through two scenarios, two real-world scenarios that they've developed um, on how to use Fusion in the best way possible, even when you don't have a lot of, let's say, background or you're getting started. So that's today's topic. I'll switch over to the next screen. Quick introduction. So, uh, I'm Rovil Bhatia. I work with Omnicom within the marketing solutions, which is now rebranded to Adobe Practice. I've been mainly working with clients on designing their Workfront instance, integrating their Workfront instance with other applications using Fusion, and been in this role for about 5, 6 years now, either on the client side or on the consulting side. So yeah, that's a little bit about me. I'll quickly switch over to Crystal for introduction.
Sure. Thanks, Roville. Hi, everybody. I'm Crystal. I work at Scotiabank under the Channel Strategy and Operations sector in marketing. I've been at Scotiabank for about 5 years, and what my role is mainly the Workfront administrator to onboard many of our channel partners over to Workfront. And this year we've migrated over to Workfront planning for our end-to-end campaign process. That's just a little bit about me, and I'll pass it back to Roville.
Yeah, thank you. Right. So, think for agenda. So I kind of touched based on that, but we're going to go through some housekeeping slides, how to stay up to date with our community. We're going to the Workfront Champion program, for which we have a deadline coming up soon for whoever wants to apply. Then we have Kaylee, the main section where Kaylee Richard will take us through uh, uh, the Fusion scenarios live, as well as talk about how they got started. And then if we get time, we'll probably touch base on Newsflash, our inherent uh, information sharing, where we try to cover everything that's new in Workfront as part of the last release. And then any time left would be open for discussion, Q&A. So that's our agenda for today. I'll switch it over to Crystal to cover off the next couple of slides.
Yeah, thanks, Roville. So just a couple of housekeeping rules. I'm just going to read off the slide. So to ensure that we're abiding by the Adobe User Group Code of Conduct, we're letting everybody know at today's meeting that we're recording it. And then it'll be posted to our Adobe User Group channel. So if you don't want to be recorded, then please, you can join us afterwards on the YouTube channel to see this recording after the session. And then if you have any questions, please make sure to send an email to our advocacy@adobe.com. You can also reach us there for any inquiries or any other future topics that you want to discuss as well. I'm just going over to the next slide. Okay, so some user group house rules. So we want to make sure this is a focused, user-friendly space for everybody to learn, network, and problem solve. So we ask that all attendees here abide by these rules. So no self-promotion or pitching of any kind permitted at these Adobe User Group events. Please don't contact anybody outside of this user group without their consent. If user group members share their use case at a meeting, please don't share the information without their consent as well. All right, so we just want to make sure you guys are staying connected with our user group, so Toronto chapter specifically. This link will be shareable at the end as well. I'll drop it in the chat. So to know what's coming up in our chapter, please join our chapter under the Adobe website as well. And this will help you understand, and you'll get notifications on future and upcoming meetings. And then we also have larger Workshare items as well. And towards the end, we're going to discuss some in-person meetings that we'd like to start hosting. So to keep up to date, please join our chapter.
All right. So, Workfront Champion Program. So a lot of you might already know that this is open for applications for someone who's not aware of the Workfront Champion Program. It's part of the broader Champion Program from Adobe, where you could apply to become a Adobe Champion on the specific product that you have been working on. You've been advocating about it already, and it's the goal is to keep knowledge sharing and networking within the same community, expand collaboration with Adobe. If you're already putting out thought leadership on LinkedIn or various other forums, you'd probably be in a good spot to apply. So you can either scan this QR code, or even if you just type out Workfront Champion Program, and Google would spit out the right link for you. So encourage everyone who has some experience in this domain for quite some time to apply, and it brings a lot of good opportunities. I've been connecting to other champions within our organization to see how their journey has been, and it's been really great for them to kind of connect with the community, share their ideas. So I'll leave it at that. Yeah, encourage everyone to apply. And then we have a few questions just for this group to kind of, put on their AI hat and see how their journey has been in terms of AI and Workfront. Because our topic is related to Workfront and OpenAI, we wanted to kind of open the forum and ask you these questions. Do you have access to the AI assistant in Workfront? What AI assistants are instances are you currently using it for in Workfront? And what are some of the challenges? What are some of the prompts? Any tips and tricks, even if it's beyond these questions, we would really appreciate if you share your experience so that we can help everyone out here. And I think that's pretty much it. So I'll switch it over to our guest speaker, Kaylee Richard, and then she's going to give her introduction and take you through the content that she has for today.
Yes, thank you so much. And thank you guys for having me today. I'm excited to be here. A little bit about me. I work at Toll Brothers, which if you're not familiar, I know some of you guys are from Canada. We don't build up there, but we're a luxury home builder in just the States. And I'm a marketing operations manager there. And it's a fancier title, but I really am just a Workfront admin at the end of the day. My core job is really meeting with all of our teams within marketing and understanding their processes, whether we're implementing something new into Workfront or adjusting something that currently exists in Workfront. In the home building industry, things are changing every day. So we're always adapting and changing things in Workfront. So that's how I spend the majority of my days. And I have about 6 years of experience with Workfront. Started as just a power user in the system, and then over time became like a baby admin and then super admin. And now speaking on events like this, and I've really grown within Workfront and my knowledge of the system over the last few years. And yes, I saw Nuria dropped it in the chat, but I am actually a current Adobe Workfront champion. So totally echoing the encouragement to go and apply for that. It has been an incredible program to be a part of. And if anybody has any questions, if we have time at the end, you can ask me. If you want to connect on LinkedIn and chat afterwards, I'm happy to talk more about my experience with the champion group, but it has really been great to connect with different people in the Workfront community, from people that work in-house, people that work as consultants. There's a lot of experience, and there's always something to learn from somebody else, and there's always something that you have that you can teach somebody else about. So that's really great part about this Workfront community. And I'm also a WUG co-lead. So you guys are in Canada and I'm outside of Philadelphia. So me and Jen Mancini, we co-lead the WUG for Philly. And shameless self promo, we do have a WUG coming up that's actually a mega WUG. So every single WUG is formally invited to join us in June, and it is about your career in Workfront. So it's a really great topic for anyone who is maybe just starting in Workfront or maybe super advanced and doesn't know the next step to take. We have a couple people on our panel that will be speaking that are either WUG leaders or Workfront champions also. So lots of great insight there. And then just some fun facts about me. I recently just got scuba certified over Memorial Day weekend. So that's super fun. Nice thing to explore. Now my husband and I are trying to figure out what our next trip is going to be. And then I have this cute little cavapoo, and he takes pictures and gets free treats from this company. So that's fun. Fun way to spend our time on the weekends. All right. So like I mentioned, I have a few years of experience with Workfront and Fusion, but I am not a developer. So I started again as just a power user and grew my career into a full-blown system admin. But with that, I wanted to learn more with Fusion. There's a lot of opportunity with our teams to not only just improve processes within the workflow and Workfront, but there's a lot of opportunities for automation. And the more that you sit with teams and hear their day-to-day, the more you're kind of itching to help them more with automation. So we do have, I'm lucky enough that we have a development team within our marketing department. And one of the developers works on Fusion. So super nice that we have that resource in-house. I know most people have to go outside for consulting, but I was able to shadow that Fusion developer. I also know the people that do work with consultants, you still have that opportunity to shadow, but that's a great way to kind of learn more about Fusion and be a little bit less intimidated by this system and not being a coder or a developer, and trying to understand the ins and outs. And along with that, if you have access to Fusion, the best way to learn it is really to just start building. We have our sandbox environments for a reason. So mess around with it, break things, figure things out, because you'll never really learn unless you try. And that's the best way that I learned how to use Fusion, was just starting with something small and seeing how far I could take it, knowing that I had my Fusion developer resource to lean on if I had questions. And you have this amazing Workfront community, whether it's your user group or the champion group or your experience league, someone's always there to help you. So it really doesn't hurt to just try to figure it out. So yeah, Sandbox is your friend. Use Sandbox, break things, figure it out, get messy. And with the conversation today, ChatGPT and AI is also your friend. I don't know how many of you have used it or not, but you'd be surprised as to how much information the AI platforms have about Workfront and about Fusion. Sometimes it's not always perfect. I will say sometimes I do text mode questions and it'll come back with like full HTML and I'm like, no, that's not how Workfront works. And then it will fix it. So sometimes it takes a little bit of prompting and questioning. But it is a really good starting point for Fusion specifically, and just understanding the framework of, I want to do this. How do I even start? What modules do I need? What do I need to set up in Fusion? And ChatGPT or other AI platforms are really great at kind of helping you lay the framework and walk you through step by step what you need to do, what you need to set up, and what you need to add within Fusion to help build something. So yeah, and then to wrap it up with this, you have your community, lean on them, find somebody that's an expert in Fusion or might have just done a little bit more in Fusion than you, and you really will be surprised with how much other people around you have different experiences than you, and you can always learn from each other, and that's the best way that we grow and build. All right, so with Fusion, now that you've kind of gotten into Fusion, gotten your feet wet, and figured out how to do something in there, we started looking at opportunities to use OpenAI. So I'll just give the caveat that like my company currently is heavily using OpenAI ChatGPT, but I would assume that you could do this with any of your AI systems, whether you're using Claude or Copilot or Perplexity, whatever. All of those applications have different integrations and have API keys. So you should be able to accomplish all of this with your AI platform of choice. But in Fusion, there's actually an OpenAI built-in module. So it does make things a little bit easier to get started and try to figure out what you need to tell Fusion and the AI to build something. So that's kind of where we started. We started looking at just somewhere to start. What's some low-hanging fruit that we could add AI into a process that's already built out in Workfront? And we currently, just in our Workfront and marketing department, are trying to automate as many processes as possible. So this was relatively easy for us to kind of spot the first thing that we can lean to, and looking for more opportunities beyond that because we already have a lot going through Fusion. Workfront is also rolling out a bunch of AI tools. I'm sure you guys have been seeing all of that. If you went to Summit, there was a lot talked about at Summit. And that's just the world of AI is a lot to keep up with. But in Workfront, there are some great AI tools within the platform itself. But yeah, I just see we don't have access to Workfront within AI. We also didn't. So this is kind of tying into why we started looking into OpenAI. Because one, the Workfront AI that was out didn't really meet what we exactly were looking for. Not to say it's not good, but just wasn't what we needed. We were looking to literally implement AI into a process to do something. And I know there's talk about the AI collaborators and what that's going to be able to do when they come out. But we had a different need than what the AI assistant and form fill and stuff could do. And again, a lot of companies do have some struggles with getting access to that AI and getting that AI rider signed. So if you have access to OpenAI or another AI platform at your company, there's some ways to still use AI and Workfront without it being like Workfront's AI. So we'll take a look at that when I show you guys my examples. But yeah, so our two use cases that we kind of pointed out first, the first one was just reducing manual review for our copywriters. That's the first scenario I'm going to show you guys. We are using this very heavily just to kind of high level explain the process. We have events that run every so often throughout the year for our homes and our communities. So like open house events, like sales events, stuff like that. And every single community across the country can write their own incentive message. So that led to about over 400 different unique incentive messages that were going to our copywriting team. At the time, it was all in an Excel sheet, which I always joke that in the world of Workfront, Excel is like a curse word. Like, why is it not in Workfront? Let's get it in Workfront. So while we were working with the team to get this process into Workfront as well, we were also looking at how can we use AI to help the copywriting team review less. And when we talked to them, a lot of the stuff that they were reviewing was just like capitalization, acronyms, like super simple stuff. So that's where we saw our first opportunity to kind of layer in OpenAI and Fusion. And I'll walk through that scenario in just a second. And then our second use case is still in a proof of concept phase. We use Sitecore as our DAM. We don't have AEM, sadly. This probably would be so much easier if we did, but we have Sitecore. And our digital asset manager is currently manually tagging all of our photos with an approved list of keywords. And we've tried a bunch of different like you can use AI, you can upload it here, you can use the browser extensions, all of that. And those work, but they're not as seamless, right? They're not fully incorporated into the process. So we were kind of looking for a seamless end-to-end process for her to tag these keywords. And alongside that, we have another project coming up to actually automate data from Workfront to our Sitecore DAM. So that's on our roadmap for the year. Have not tackled that massive project yet, but this idea, this proof of concept will be layered in when we get to that point to help assist with tagging keywords and passing data from Workfront to Sitecore. So I'm going to pause there for a second. Does anyone have like any questions? I can look at the chat too, just before I switch to showing the scenarios.
No questions in the chat. I'm just kind of managing there.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Yeah, go ahead. Thank you.
All right. Okay, I'm going to like share my whole window. So you're probably going to turn into like the kaleidoscope, but I'll switch off of it really quickly. Okay, can everybody see Fusion?
Yep.
Perfect. So this is our first scenario that I mentioned with our proofreading for our copywriters. So it's actually fairly simple. It's really at its core, it's only 4 modules, with the 5th just being an error handler for our specific use case. But this not only is a really simple thing to set up as a beginner in Fusion, but it's also a really simple setup for a beginner with just using OpenAI and the OpenAI module. So you can see in Fusion itself, like there is an out-of-the-box OpenAI connector. You do just have to do like a one-time setup of that OpenAI connector with your company's API key and the secret key and all of that stuff. But once you have that set up, you can continuously use this module in your scenarios. So for this scenario, essentially, all that it's doing is it's going to wait and it's going to watch to see when we get a new request for a custom incentive message. And just to help you guys kind of understand the process, I'll show it to you in our Workfront environment as well. So this is what it would look like for someone. They want to come and they want to add a new incentive message for the spring 2026 QMI event. And this is like a side note to Fusion, but this is something that we built out to help, again, reduce those like 400 different messages. So our marketing managers can pick a bunch of these templated options and enter in information in here if they want to enter like $10,000, and it'll generate their message. So this process alone was already saving a lot of time for the copywriters, but we wanted to take it even further because we are offering custom incentive messages. So if a community doesn't have something that fits from the template, or they have some sort of super special offering, they can enter a custom incentive message. So look, it's auto-populating for me, which is nice. This is actually an example we pulled from a past request that was back in that Excel sheet that someone typed in. So this, we're not going to put this up on our website, right? So based on our copy guidelines, if we are writing something, we're not going to write 10K. We're going to want it to be the full number written out. And obviously available is spelled wrong. And QMI is a word that we use internally. I'm sure none of you guys on this call understand what that even means. So a QMI is a quick move-in home. So we're going to want that to be all spelled out. So previously our copywriting team was coming in and they were editing this to change this to $, 10,000, the full number, fixing the typo in available, and then writing out quick move-in homes in its entirety. But now if I were to submit this, which I'm not going to because I'm in production and this will go to our website, but when I will submit this, it would trigger my Fusion scenario because I picked a custom incentive. It'll go through and it'll read the request, and what it's going to pull is just this custom incentive message. And then it's going to pass through the OpenAI proofreader. We can click into this so you can see it a little bit better. So you can set up your OpenAI connection. You can pick the model that you want it to run through, and then you can add in your prompt. So I'll make this a little bit bigger. But basically, I'm not going to read this all to you guys word for word, but just putting in a prompt that this is a proofreader for a luxury home builder. And we don't want it to change any of the context of the text. We just want it to review it from a grammar spelling perspective. And then I put some additional call outs in here. So if the letter K is there, it should be a full number format. If there's any like asterisks or anything, that should be removed. We add that separately in the code. It shouldn't change anything unless they're misspelled. And replace any acronyms. So here are some common acronyms that some of our team members will enter. So we're having the QMI get updated, we're having TBMC get updated, and CC get updated. And no terminal punctuation, make sure everything's correct. And that's about it. There's some more stuff down here. You really don't necessarily have to touch this, but this is all diving deeper into the world of AI. And if you want to learn more about this, you can also use AI. So you could, as you're setting this up, you could also ask ChatGPT, like, this is what I'm looking for my output. What should I set the max tokens or the temperature to? And it'll help you understand what these values are and what you should set them at for your expected output. And so you can see here, this is the prompt that we're sending in. And then the value from our second module is the message from the original Workfront request. So those two things are going to get sent off together, off to OpenAI to adjust that. It's then going to spit out its answer. And we're grabbing it here. And we're basically just putting it back on that field in the Workfront request. So we're going back to that original request, going back to that custom incentive message field, and we're just adding the output that came from the AI. And then I just have an error handler set up here, because one thing that we found was that people were actually using the acronyms to kind of avoid the character count we have. So we do have a character limit, and sometimes people want to write a lot of stuff and it doesn't fit. So then they start using acronyms to kind of squeeze it all together and make it fit. So what we were running into was that OpenAI would go through it, it would change all the acronyms, but then the value would be over 100 characters. So if that does happen, we have it send an error message back to the requester that they are over the 100 character limit and that they need to go and revise the custom incentive message themselves. And so now the way that the process works is all of those 400 requests are going to get submitted in this process. Hopefully, at least 75% of them are picking one of these templated options now. And then the other 25 are going through the custom process. So that's already cutting down the amount that our copywriting team had to review by 75%. And then our copy team is going to come in and we set up a special report for them to easily review and edit anything. So now they don't have to really check or change anything from a grammatical perspective. They're just making sure that the actual context of the message is something that we want to produce and want to put out there for the company and the brand voice. So it takes them only about 10 minutes now to go through and review all of the messages for a new event, when it used to take them about like 2 days. I will stop there if anyone has any questions.
So Kaylee, I have a question. How long did it take you to create this Fusion script and figure out the prompting and deliver it?
Yeah, so it really didn't take honestly that long, because it really is only like the 4 modules. It did take just a little bit of trial and error with the prompting, as any prompting really is. I think we just, it was also in conjunction with working with the copywriting team. Like I wrote something and then they kept being like, oh, and then we get this sometimes. Oh, and then we get that sometimes. So just a little bit of tweaking and testing to make sure. And I was writing like really bad copy like this and sending it through in Sandbox just to make sure it was coming back correct. And then once we felt like everything was good, we pushed it live, and we've had nothing but good things from our copywriting team.
Good. And then do you do spot checks, or you were mentioning that they go through all the messages, right? After It goes through
Yeah,
the
so
OpenAI?
the copywriting team does still do just like a spot check of everything before it goes to production. At our company, we're still kind of in the state of like a human still needs to review everything from
Right.
AI. Nothing from AI is just immediately going to production. But again, they're really just like going through a report, like good, 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 instead of actually editing every individual message now.
Okay. Amazing. This is
Yeah.
great. Thank you.
Yeah, I just want to say this, and like this is proof that like it has to be really like it doesn't have to be really complex. You can solve
Mhm.
like a problem, small problem such as just correcting grammatical errors, expanding out acronyms, and that's going to save a lot of time. And just the sheer number of requests could, have an impact on your overall marketing life cycle. So, I mean, this is great. Thank you so much for sharing, Kaylee.
Yeah, of course. All right, I'll show another one quickly. So this is our proof of concept. It's a little bit more involved. Um, and you probably can see there's no OpenAI module. So one thing about the OpenAI module, and honestly any module in Fusion for that point, is it's really great for like 90% of your use cases. And then every so often you want to do something that's not fully built out in the out of the box module. So with that, that's when you need to make your actual API call separately. So in this situation, we wanted, like I mentioned before, we wanted the keywords to get tagged on images. So in order to do that, we had to grab the image from Workfront and then send it to OpenAI. And we all know from using AI, like AI can look at images and understand what's in it. But the out of the box OpenAI module in Fusion didn't have like the image recognition built in. So in that case, we did use a custom API call. So I'll walk through that quick. This is like a little bit more complex, but I also will be so honest in saying that I did build this myself and I used AI every step of the way to help me figure it out because I'm not a developer and I shouldn't know how to make API calls, but I was able to figure it out using AI to build the API call for the AI. So AI is your friend. If you can use it, you can learn a lot of things that you don't necessarily know how to do within your day to day. So for this one, we're gonna watch for new requests that get submitted to go to the hub. The hub is our Sitecore DAM. So when new requests get submitted, it's just gonna run through and just like regular Fusion, it's gonna read the request, it's gonna get the documents. And then there's like some complexity you have to do with like making the document public and getting the public document link. That's just kind of the Fusion Workfront side of it. And then we're going to get our image URL. And then to make this a little bit simpler, like from the prompting perspective, every time that the prompt gets run, we're going to reference a keyword list. So I actually just made a variable for the keyword list, just in case the keyword list changes, I can just update the variable instead of going back in and updating like the entirety of the prompt. So this is just our keyword list. These are the words that we're tagging on our images in the DAM. So it's going to reference back to this list every time it's looking at a picture and try to use these approved words. And then here is where we're making the API call to OpenAI. Again, used AI to help me figure out what to put in all these boxes. But you'll have to enter your URL for OpenAI and then your authorization key and that you want the JSON. And then in here is kind of where you write out your whole prompt. So again, chat helped me write this out. So it's picking the model and then it's very similar to the setup that we were looking at back here. You can see there's the role is the system and then the content and then the role is the user and then the content. And it's the same here. It's just in a little bit more of like a developer-y type out here because it's written in JSON. So you're going to still have your system role and then your whole prompt. So this prompt is a little bit longer because it's a little bit more specific and detailed in what we're looking for the output to be. So still starting off like you're a digital asset manager for our company, luxury home builder. Then you can see it's going to reference back to that keyword list. And then just some additional rules in here, just to what to focus on in the rooms, what to tag in certain room pictures. And if there's anything else that they feel like should be tagged, they can add it. But we want to make sure everything from the keyword list is included, because our social teams and brand and creative teams are going off that keyword list to know what to search for in our DAM. And then here you can see the user, what content we're sending. We're going to be sending that image URL that we set in this variable that we got from Workfront. And then it's basically just going to take the data. So this is what came out of that prompt that we ran. And it's going to put the keywords, that answer is just going to be the list of keywords. And it's going to dump the keywords back into the request. This is how we had it set up just for our testing purposes. We dumped the content back into Workfront just to make sure it actually worked and was doing what we wanted. But when we eventually incorporate this into our automation from Workfront to our DAM, this will be like, add the keywords into the thing in Sitecore. This is just kind of where we had to end now, because we don't have that integration built out. All right, I will stop there and stop sharing. And then I know you guys, you wanted to go through some like newsflash and Q&A. So do you want to save questions for the end?
Yeah, we can save questions to the end.
Okay.
Thank you. So I dropped some questions in the chat. If anybody wants to share, by all means, no obligation, no pressure. Okay, Robo is going to take us through our newsflash.
All right. So we'll get back to the Fusion scenarios Kaylee just shared in a little bit. I'll just quickly go through this newsflash, and because Kaylee has shared those two instances in a good amount of detail. Like if you guys want to think about that, if you want to think of any questions that you might have related to that, we will just park that for the next maybe 10 minutes after this newsflash. But yeah, I'll just quickly go through this. So there were a really good, exciting bunch of announcements by Workfront. So what we usually do in our sessions in the Toronto Workfront community is we try to split them up as Adobe also splits them up in their Experience League. So we start with administration. What we've done different this time is we've tried to tag the AI enhancements, because that's what everyone is looking forward to. What's new in terms of AI in Workfront. So we've tried to make it simple for you so that you can just quickly go into these links by looking at the release announcements. And mostly in the administration side, it's the AI collaborator, which has been also announced during Summit. Um, so that's a great thing. I think it's somewhat related to what Kaylee showed in the first Fusion instance. Not exactly, but you can help use that to also generate or refine some of your text. I haven't used it, to be honest, but it's a great I think release announcement. Um, we have custom quarters removed from project preferences. I think this was mainly to kind of put some more governance around those custom quarters. Um, we have the ability to collapse some sections by default in your custom forms. And then we have new IP addresses for work from email notification whenever you're setting up request queues. Um, and a lot of good improvements in documents. So there's a content advisor for when your AEM assets is connected to your Workfront, so that you can discover and reuse your content faster. Uh, we have Gen Studio Foundations uh, provisioning enabled and to support AI collaborators. So this is tied to the first part that we talked about in the content review. And then we have a a slew of other updates, like the approval widget updates, the unified approval update. So you can, I think Frame IO is finally part of the unified approval process that we rolled out in the last release, along with multi-stage approvals and setting up those approval templates. In terms of enterprise operations, so we have some new capabilities in terms of enterprise operations. One was also to remove any to allow for any gaps in data effective billing rates. And then in terms of reporting, it's mostly around adding the ability to see a current version field for documents, um, scheduled report deliveries now are also supporting link-based emails, um, which wasn't the case before. We can run reports as a specific user in Canvas dashboards, which was uh, possible in the a standard dashboard that we had in Workfront, but now it's also possible in Canvas. Um, and we have new authentication options for Data Connect. For anyone who has used Data Connect using Snowflake, you can now authenticate in more ways. Um, we also have custom field labels shown when building reports, so you can also customize your labels right in the report. Then we have report folders that are shareable. So I've personally dealt with a lot of issues when sharing, reports with different kinds of personas. Whenever, let's say, you're dealing with QA folks, they would need their own set of, reports. So it's very hard to kind of share all of them in one go. So this definitely solves that problem. Um, and then improve data labels for chart groupings in Canvas dashboard. Earlier, you couldn't really uh, customize those date labels, so now that's possible. Um, and then in terms of requests, we have improvements to the visibility of the created object and request lists. I haven't gone through this one specifically, but I'm sure it brings some value in the request view. And then there's another sharing experience enhancement in terms of request views. So that was a quick news flash for anyone who wanted to get up to speed with what's going on in Workfront. As you can see, um, we have a bunch of almost 3 new AI announcements, and then a lot of updates in different areas um, of Workfront, especially in reporting and documents. So that was our newsflash. All right. So next exciting thing is we wanted to understand from all of our Greater Toronto area folks, anyone even beyond that, if someone's willing to travel from nearby areas like Guelph or Kitchener or Barrie. Uh, uh, we're trying to schedule a in-person meet for September. We were initially trying to do it in June, but Crystal reminded me there's a FIFA
FIFA,
match, there's
yeah.
Pride Week, there's so much going on that you might not, a lot of people might not be able to make it. So we rescheduled it to September, but we wanted to get a better understanding of how many participants would be available to meet. We're thinking somewhere in downtown, probably around Stack Market or Kelly's Landing, somewhere that's convenient for everyone. But we wanted to just quickly understand how many raise of hands we have, and so that we can plan accordingly. Um, and we have 2 dates right now, location TBD, as I said. Uh, but this is what we're looking at. If you have other ideas, if you have other dates, that you would prefer, feel free to let us know in the chat or just, let us know on email as well. Um, and yeah, we'll open this up for discussion.
And it's going to be
Um,
strictly informal, be casual, trying to get to know everybody, networking. So it won't be a set agenda. So it's just something everybody come and meet in person, chat, get to know each other, and yeah, just
yeah,
relax.
absolutely. Right. So I'll switch over to Crystal for this slide.
Yeah, for sure. So we're going to take this conversation over to Experience League. If you have any other questions, if you want to share Any trainings that you want to share with the community, please hop over to the Experience League for more options, support, and all things in connecting with each other. And then the next slide again, please join our user group. Again, this will help you keep informed with our user group. Again, with our upcoming in-person, hopefully many can make it. It'll be great to see everybody in person, get to know each other, chat, build the community a little bit more. We are still in the first year of our chapter, and us being the first in Canada, we'd love to see everybody out there and continue to join our meetings. With that in mind, I wanted to say a big thank you to Kaylee for joining us today. We're going to open up the floor. I know you've been answering some questions, so thank you so much from the chat. If anybody wants to come off mute, ask a question, either to Kaylee, myself, or Roville, or if you have any other ideas for our in-person meet or future meetings, please let us know. But opening up the floor, I'm going to check the chat and see if there's anything else going on.
There was a question in chat from Mo, and I answered it in chat, but I want to kind of reiterate my answer here for everybody. So he asked what the biggest challenge was creating the proof of concept and how are we measuring adoption. So that proof of concept that I showed, the hardest part was honestly just figuring out like the HTTP custom API call, because again, I'm not a developer, so that was all a bit foreign to me, but really just relying on my AI resources to help me. Every time I ran into an issue with testing, I'd go back to AI and be like, okay, what do I do now? This is what came up. And just continuing the trial and error and not getting discouraged when you run into an error in Fusion is just the best advice that I can give. And then for adoption, with the two that I showed, it's kind of forced adoption. It's going to run through AI when it gets submitted in Workfront. So that's just going to happen. But we do have other processes where we are measuring adoption. And I've done something in Workfront. So if you're running something through Fusion, you could do this in Fusion. We also have a process I didn't show here because it doesn't really use Fusion, but we have like an external app that we built in-house that pushes data from the app into a Workfront request to get submitted. And in that, we have like a little hidden admin field that says, was this submitted using AI? Yes or no. So if you have something where you kind of want to track, are they using the AI process? Are they not? Like maybe you have something in Fusion where they need to set a status or they need to trigger something for it to run AI. You could kind of sneak that little field in there and have Fusion set that to yes. And then since it's admin only, no one else will see it. And then you can pull reports and look at that request and see which ones were AI, which ones weren't, and you can see if there's a pattern in who's using it or who's not, where there's limitations with adoption, and then you might be able to get further feedback on why someone might not be using it. And you can take it a step further too. We've done a lot of time-saving reporting. So once you've implemented even just a process improvement or a Fusion automation, it doesn't have to be AI, but that's just the world we're in now. You can talk to the teams you're working with, see how long it took them to do it manually, and now how long it's taking them with the automation or with the AI. And you can start pulling data from Workfront around request volume or project volume and kind of do the math around that.
That's great. Thank you. I don't think I see any other questions. No, there's no more questions. Anybody want to come off mute with any questions? If not, no worries. Okay, I guess we'll close it out. Thank you, everybody, so much for joining, especially over your lunch break. Oh, wait, I think I might see one. No, that's Robo. Don't forget to add which date works better for you, and we will go with the popular vote. If you can make both, that's even better. Makes us choosing a date even easier. But thank you so much, especially over your lunch hour, to join us today. And we look forward to the next Workfront user group. Don't forget to join Kaylee's next user group meeting, which is, Kaylee?
It is June 18th.
June 18th. Mark your calendars.
You guys should see it when you go on the Canada WUG too. Since it's a mega WUG, you should be able to see it as a next event.
Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you
Thank
all
you so much,
much.
Kaylee.
Thank you,
All right.
everybody.
Guys,
Have yourself a
thank
great
you.
day.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Take care.
Bye.